You're copying pasting your resume into every application and changing basically nothing, and that's costing you interviews. Not because your experience is weak, but because your resume is speaking a completely different language than the job description itself. So when I was applying to Apple, I almost made the same mistake. I had the right experience and zero of the right keywords, and I caught it right before I was about to submit. So what I'm about to show you is exactly how I read a job description to pull out every keyword a recruiter or ATS system is actually scanning for. So your resume actually gets seen instead of getting filtered. So let's start with something most people don't want to hear. The first person to read your resume is not a person. It's actually going to be a system. It's a bot. It's called ATS, Applicant Tracking System. You may know it or you may not, but its entire job is to scan your resume for a specific language that matches the job description. So if the match score is too low, you're out before any recruiter ever opens your file. But here's the thing, it's not looking for your GPA, it's not looking at your school. It's actually looking for words, specific words, the same words that are in your job description or in that job description that you're applying for. So if the job description says something like cross functional collaboration and your resume says worked with different teams, those mean the exact same thing, right? To a human, yeah, but to ATS, it's actually a keyword miss. And I see that constantly. Someone will have a genuinely solid internship background, real projects, great grades, and they're getting ghosted by companies that should be calling them. 9 times out of 10, it's a language mismatch, not really an experience mismatch. And the fix is not rewriting your resume from scratch. It's just learning how to read a job description the right way so you know exactly what words to use. The job description is literally the answer key, and most people don't know how to read it. And you shouldn't blame yourself because school never teaches this. They'll teach about theory, but never this skill that really gets you to the job. So that's why I'm here today. So here's the 3 layer framework for reading any job description. So pull up any job description right now. Like pause the video, doesn't matter which one, just pull it up. And I want you to stop reading it like a checklist and start reading it like a document with layers, because that's really what it is. So the first layer, I guarantee you this is like on every job description like you pulled up right now. The layer 1 is required skills, and these are non-negotiable, usually listed under requirements or qualifications. And these are the keywords that ATS is almost certainly filtering for. So if you have this experience, these exact words need to be somewhere on your resume, not synonyms, but the actual words itself, like literally word for word. The second layer is the preferred skills. So usually labeled is nice to have or preferred requirements or qualifications. Companies write these in because they want them, even if they say they're optional. They're actually the differentiators. And even if you have one of these and your competition doesn't, that's the leverage. Use those words too. So if you have it, put them in. And then the layer 3 is the cultural and the soft language, and this one gets ignored the most. Like looking for phrases like fast-paced environment, ownership mentality, collaborative, drives impact. These aren't filler; they're actually in there on purpose, and they're telling you how the team thinks about itself or the company kind of thinks about it itself. And these words belong in your resume summary. But as you know, I don't have a resume summary. So what I do instead is I put it into some of the bullet points. I try to say I wanted to add in fast-paced environments. Like that's literally the keywords that it had in the job description. I would try to put it in a bullet point, like some experience I had to work really quickly. I would put that in just to match another keyword. And usually your cover letter too. But most companies you don't like submit a cover letter, but again, your cover letter or the bullet points. Now, most people read a job description top to bottom and think that they're done, but they're not. The words in layer 2, the preferred section, that's where you can actually separate yourself from every other applicant who only matched on the basics. And I used this at Verizon. So they had experience. So they had this term called experience with agile workflows. listed as preferred, not required. I had one semester of that from a class project, and I just used the word agile twice in my resume. Got the interview. That one word was a differentiator because everyone else probably left it out, assuming that it didn't matter. So, three layers: required, preferred, and cultural. And most people only read the first one or maybe the second one and just ignore the third one altogether. Now that you know the layers, the next step is figuring out which words carry the most weight, because not everything in the job description matters equally. So, this section is going to talk about how to extract and rank the keywords that actually move the needle. So, now that you've got the three layers, we're going to need to actually pull the keywords out and figure out which ones to prioritize. Here's my system. Two rules. The first rule is frequency. So if a word or phrase appears more than once in the job description, it will matter more. Companies don't repeat things by accident. So if data analysis shows up in the requirements and in a bullet point under responsibilities and also in the preferred section, that word basically has to be circled in red and it needs to be on your resume. Number two is placement. So words that appear in the top third of a job description carries more weight. Now, what do you consider the top third? For me personally, it's when they start off with the role introduction. That's usually like the top third for me. And ATS systems and recruiters skim both skim, right? So the higher up a keyword is, the more likely it's gonna get baked into the actual scoring rubric the recruiter is using. Now here's how I actually do this. So I just paste the job description into a doc. I go through it once, just do the highlighting, every technical skill, every tool, every methodology, every action verb. Then I do a second pass on frequency. I manually check which ones show up more than once. And by the end, I have somewhere between if I'm conservative, probably 5 to 10 keywords that I know are high priority, and that becomes my list for the specific application. Now, I don't do this for every single job description ever, just the jobs I really want to get into. But if you really need a job, like, this is what I would recommend you to do for every single job if you need that job or if you need that internship. So you're not really trying to stuff all of them in. You're just trying to make sure the important ones have a home somewhere in your resume. Ideally in context, not just listed in the skills section or just like randomly put like stuffed in there, right? So the skills section does matter, but skill sections alone don't tell ATS how you use the skill. Bullet points that include the keyword and show context actually score better. Now that you have the list, the last thing that I want you to show is how to actually put these words into your resume without sending like you just ran a find and replace and you just loaded up on keywords. And a bonus tip I'll add for this one is also, I see people doing this. I see a lot of students. I've talked to a lot of students, and I see them basically putting in the keywords in the bullet points, and it's perfectly context and everything, but then they highlight that keyword. I'm like, to me that's like, bro, that just takes away from they bold that keyword, and that takes away from the boldness. So you have to use bold, like the bold lettering, very selectively. So I would keep it for the role title or the company name, like those need to be bolded. But like random keywords or random technologies, do not bold that. You don't need to bold that. Okay, so yeah, section 4 is how to inject these keywords naturally so your resume still sounds human and you don't want to sound like a bot. So this is where most people will mess up. Most students get lost, even after they've done everything right up until this point. So they find the keywords, they know which ones matter, and then they just shove them in, and the bullet points read like a robot wrote it. And a recruiter, an actual human who eventually does read your resume if you make it through ATS, will feel that. So here's what I follow. First is context, and then it's keyword. So don't start your bullet point with the keyword. Start with what you actually did, and then land on the keyword naturally. So again, I've talked about this many times. Use the XYZ method. I have a whole video on how to do it. I will link those videos. And then your skill section is not where your keywords go to die. So it should actually reflect the exact tooling language from the job description. So if the job description says react.js, don't just write React and then capital J, capital S, or just React. Match those exact words, like literally word for word. If it's React and then .js in lowercase and then React and then JS in uppercase, you want to make sure that you have the lowercase version if that's what it says in the job description. And do not add a resume summary. Please do not add a resume summary. You so I have another video on how to like structure your resume, but this is how you really extract those keywords and then you can place it in. And to actually write your bullet points, you use the XYZ method, and then you can use AI to help you as well. So please use AI to help you write those bullet points. I personally do, and it's completely okay. Don't feel ashamed of it or don't feel guilty about it. Just make sure you read through it and you make sure it sounds human or it sounds logically true. But that's the full system. 3 layers to read the job description, 2 rules to rank the keywords, and then you just inject them cleanly, like how I told you. And if you do this for every single application, you're already doing more than 90 to 95% of the people you're competing against. And I give you my word, that's exactly true from how many people I've talked to here. But because most people submit one resume to every job description and wonder why nothing really lands. So drop a comment if you want me to do like a live breakdown of a job description. I'll do it. But if you haven't yet, subscribe. And I drop CS career stuff every single week, and none of it is fake. But thank you.